Generation Z in Nepal, encompassing individuals born between 1997 and 2012, represents the country's first truly digital native cohort. By 2025, they ranged in age from around 12 to 28 and played a central role in shaping the country's evolving social landscape. A deep sense of frustration simmered among Nepal's youth. The country has faced ongoing political instability with 14 different prime ministers since the monarchy was abolished in 2008, none completing a 5 full-year term. This instability has been further compounded by widespread corruption, nepotism, and a scarcity of meaningful jobs opportunities, which has eroded trust in traditional political systems and leadership. In 2024, youth unemployment in Nepal stood at over 20%, one of the highest rates in South Asia, pushing hundreds of thousands of young Nepalis to seek employment opportunities abroad. The country's heavy reliance on remittances, which contribute around 33% to the GDP, highlights the absence of substantial domestic economic growth and underscore the urgent need for dignified employment within the country. A specific flashpoint for public outrage was the viral Nepo campaign, which emerged on platforms like TikTok. This campaign exposed the lavish lifestyles of politician children who often flaunted their wealth and foreign trips online. In stark contrast to the struggles of ordinary Nepalis living on an average per capita income of $1,500 per year. The immediate trigger for the widespread protest was the government decision on September 4, 2025 to ban 26 popular social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, X, and YouTube. This ban was justified by the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology as a measure to enforce new registration rules and collect the digital service tax from foreign e-service providers. However, the ban was widely perceived by Gen Z as a blatant attempt to stifle dissent and control the narrative, particularly after months of anti-corruption activism and the Nepo campaign gaining traction online. For a generation that lives online, the restrictions felt like a loss of their voice and a direct threat to their livelihoods, as many relied on these platforms for freelance work, digital entrepreneurship, and connecting with families abroad. On Monday, September 8, thousands of young people, including many in school uniforms, gathered in Kathmandu, particularly around Maitighar Mandala, and head towards the Federal Parliament building in New Baneswar. Organized through digital channels like Discord and Instagram, the protest initially began peacefully, demanding freedom of speech, justice, and an end to corruption. However, the situation quickly turned violent as protesters attempted to breach security barricades around the parliament. Security force responded with escalating force, using tear gas, water cannons, rubber bullets, and controversially live ammunition against the demonstrators. This aggressive crackdown resulted in an at least 19 deaths on the first day, primarily in Kathmandu, with thousands more injured. Videos showed peaceful protesters being shot with live rounds at close range, with some victims suffering fatal head and torso wounds. In response to the growing casualties and public outrage, Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak resigned and the government temporarily lifted the social media ban later that evening. The violence of September 8 ignited a nationwide uprising. On September 9, protests intensified, defying government-imposed curfews in Kathmandu and other major cities. Angry mobs targeted symbols of state power and political privilege. The Federal Parliament, Singha Darbar, the administrative headquarters, and the Supreme Court were set ablaze. The Prime Minister's residence in Balwatar, the President's residence at Sital Niwas, and the headquarters of political parties including the Communist Party of Nepal were also torched or vandalized. Even media houses like Kantipur Media Group were attacked and their servers were burned. Amid the escalating chaos, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned on September 9. Reports indicate that Oli fled to an army barrack for safety as his residence was attacked. The widespread destruction also led to a mass jailbreak across the country, with over 13,500 inmates escaping from various prisons. In the days following the government collapse, Nepal faced a power vacuum and an uneasy calm. With soldiers patrolling the streets and enforcing curfews, the social media ban was officially and permanently lifted. A unique aspect of this revolution was the decentralized way in which Gen Z organized groups like Hami Nepal used Discord servers and Instagram channels as central organizing tools, allowing broad participation and rapid mobilization. The core demand of the protesters were clear and direct: restore freedom of speech, lift the social media ban, end corruption, punish those involved in scandals, hold leaders accountable, and create fair job opportunities based on merit rather than favoritism. Despite the leaderless nature of the street protest, youth activists quickly leveraged digital platforms like Discord to deliberate and select a nominee for interim leader. In a virtual mini-election, former Supreme Court Chief Justice Sushila Karki was chosen, admired for her independent stance against political elites. On September 12, 2025, Karki was sworn in as Nepal's first female Prime Minister, heading an interim administrative task with governance reform and steering Nepal to fresh election scheduled for March 5, 2026. Nepal's Gen Z revolution mirrors similar youth-led uprisings across South Asia and beyond, including Sri Lanka in 2022, Bangladesh in 2024, and recently Indonesia in 2025. These movements demonstrate a regional and global pattern of digitally native youth challenging entrenched systems, demanding accountability, and leveraging technology for political change. Nepal's experience serves as a cautionary tale for government attempting to impose Chinese-style digital controls without a robust domestic digital ecosystem or adequate governance structures. The Gen Z revolution in Nepal, despite its immediate cost in lives and property, has shaped the nation's political landscape and highlighted the power of digitally connected generation unwilling to remain silent. We should remember that the protest and associated riots has caused significant financial loss across Nepal. Economists estimate that collateral damage at around 3 trillion Nepali rupees, which is nearly half of the country's GDP. This widespread unrest has inflicted unprecedented economic damage and has led to a slowdown in GDP growth. The path forward remains complex, requiring sustained effort to translate protest momentum into lasting institutional reforms, foster inclusive governance, and build an economy that offers opportunities for all its young citizens. Nepal's future hinges on its leaders' willingness to listen and adapt to the aspiration of its vibrant, restless, and imaginative Gen Z.